Hi everyone, it's Plumb here to share another scrapbook process video with you. Today's layout that I am sharing was created for the Cocoa Vanilla Studio design team, and I am using the new No Limits collection again. I cannot tell you how much I am loving using this collection and working with it and getting lots of photos of my boys and my hubby scrapped. It's been a pleasure so far. So that is actually the photo I'm working with today, which is a photo of my hubby and one of my boys when they were recently outside doing some yard work. Now I decided to challenge myself for this layer, and you can see all those papers that I've got on my desk there. They're all the scraps from my recent projects that I've been creating with this collection, and I thought I might put them to good use and create a layout using my scraps. So you can see what I do with them. So I decided to start with a patterned paper background for this one. So I chose that wood grain print there because I thought that would work really nicely with the outdoor theme of this page. I did add some mixed media to this page, but it's very subtle mixed media. I didn't go heavy on the mixed media. So I've actually got a white acrylic paint there and my wide number 4 brush, and I'm actually just using the dry brush technique to apply a little bit of colour to the page, a little bit of that white paint to the page, just to help define the focal area of my page. Now, if you are not familiar with the dry brush technique, it is where you load a very small amount of paint onto the tips of your bristles and just wipe them back and forth on your palette. You can see that I use an ice cream container lid there. Wipe them back and forth on your palette until the bristles are almost completely dry. You've not got big blobs of paint, and then just, run it gently across your page just to brush off lightly the color that you have remaining. As I said, it's an easy technique. And it's one that's really effective because you get to see all those beautiful little lines from the individual bristles on the brush. So if you haven't tried that one yet, have a go at it. Now, over the top of my paint, I am adding some stenciling. So the stencil I am using there was from Stencil Girl, and I'm just using some black Stays-On ink. And you can see that I have applied that with a little makeup sponge. So I've simply just dabbed the colour, the black, through the sponge, and I've applied that stenciling over the top of where I already had the paint sitting. Now, to bring in a little bit of colour, I am using a Distress Oxide. The colour I am using is Prize Ribbon. And the reason I chose this blue is because I wanted to pull in the blue that was on the bottom of my husband's shirt and get a little bit of that happening on the background. Now, you would know that usually I add my splatters at the end, but I figured why I had it here, I might just add them now and let it all dry together. So there's my little splatters, and I'm just popping my background aside to dry. Okay, so here are my scraps. Initially, that big piece there with that sort of mixed media style background on it, that's got a star print on the back of it, and I actually cut it. What did I cut it for? I cut it for something, I don't know. But this was the piece that I was left with, and I decided to use the piece in exactly the shape that it was already in. I didn't bother measuring it, cutting it, nothing. I thought, yep, that'll do for a background, and off I went. So these were some other scraps that I had left sitting on my desk, which, if you are a person that collects your scraps from every page, you would know that they mount up fairly quickly. Now, I'm not generally a person that saves tiny scraps. They have to be a substantial size for me to save them, which is why I like to use them up as much as I can while they are sitting on my desk, because after that, if they're not a decent piece of paper that's going to get stored and used again, they're going straight in the bin. So you can see how I used up some of my scraps on this page. Now what I wanted to do was bring some texture to my page, so I just used my little Heidi Swap distressing tool there and distressed around the edges of the paper. The large piece already had a torn edge where I'd torn it previously, so I just ruffled that up a little bit with my fingernail just to ruffle it up a little bit further and make it a bit more textured. So I've worked out the layout for my pattern paper pieces there, you can see that I've got that yellow piece sort of running vertically behind the photo just to sort of frame in on the right hand side there, and then I've run that black piece horizontally to give me a good strong horizontal anchor point. Now, I did have a little container there of a few bits and bobs that I'd pulled out of my stash that I thought would work with this layout. And the reason I pulled them out is because my son actually has a green hat on in the photo, and the green in the photo is different to the green that's in the collection. So I just wanted to add something that would draw that colour into the page. So I've also added a paper doily there. I did pull out a green one as well, but the green wasn't right. And you can see that I've added that pop of green vertically there. And what I actually used for that was a paint sample card that I got from my local hardware store. And I just trimmed that in half and tucked it into my layers. And I think it does a great job of pulling in that green colour. Okay, so I've also added some frayed gauze on the top of my stack there. That's just to add some extra texture to the page. This gauze just really wasn't behaving and going exactly where I wanted it to go. I had to trim off a little bit with the scissors, and I fiddled and fluffed around with it. Now, you'll have to forgive me if I keep pausing and taking a breath. I've actually got a sore throat, and every time I talk, it sends me into a coughing fit, which is great. So I've paused this a few times already. Now, I'm using a Helmer 450 liquid adhesive to stick my photo down over the top of that gauze because it doesn't tend to like tape or any other adhesive. And now I am starting to look at embellishing this page. So you can see that piece that I've pulled out there. It was from the cut apart paper, the 12 by 12 cut apart paper. And it's got that quote on there, "Always be your awesome self." I decided that worked really well with the theme of this page because I was really focusing on the fact that this little boy of mine just loves to help his dad out in the yard. Anything to do with the garden, he is the first one to volunteer, "Dad, I'll help you." And I think that's really, really lovely of him. Oh, now you can see I've actually gone back to the scraps again, and I pulled out the little piece of that yellow print paper that I had, and I've tucked that in on the right hand side there, which just extends out that horizontal plane a bit more and gives me room to sort of build out a cluster or embellishments heading out on the right hand side of my page. Now, there's a very good reason why I have weighted this page over to the left-hand side with my photo and why I have put the photo so close to the left edge. This page is actually going to be sitting next to a pocket page that I am intending on creating, which has got more photos from this day, and the pocket is going to be sitting in the left side of the album, and this layout is going to be sitting in the right side of the album. So I wanted the photo over on the left-hand side of the page just to give them that sense of cohesion and to make them join together in my album. Okay, there's that little card from the cut-apart sheet. I've added some scrap cardboard on the back of it because I'm wanting to pop that up from the page and hoping to bring it up to eye level, just like the photo was, because these are the things that are going to come up to the viewer's eye and they're going to provide a bit of separation from the background as well. The words that I've got there come from the die cut titles pack, and you will see in a minute that I am actually going to put some foam tape on the back of those words as well, because I want the title and the photo all coming up from the background together. That way it's easy for people, their eye is drawn to the photo, then it's drawn to the title, then you go to the embellishments, and then you go to the background. That's kind of the order that your eyes see things in. Now, I am fiddling around with some stars that I fussy cut from the star print paper. I think it's called Nebula off the top of my head. I had already cut into that sheet, so it was sitting on my desk, so I figured I might as well make use of that star paper and cut them for embellishments. So I've started to play with the placement of those stars to see if I needed to cut more, if I had enough, where they'll work, and to begin framing in around that photo. Okay, yep, there I go with the foam tape too, as I said, to pop that title up from the page. Now, there are a number of those stars, or a few of them anyway, that actually came from the edge of the paper. So they're only half stars. I never, ever waste those stars. I don't like to waste any paper at all because, as I've said previously, I'm a bit of a tight ass with my paper. So I always cut out the half stars and then I use those to tuck in under the edge of something else so that you don't know that there's half a star missing. Okay, moving on to some more embellishments. I'm pulling out the accessory sticker sheet there. I've stuck that little banner sticker in the corner, and then I've also stuck one of those fussy cut stars. I do like to embellish directly on my photos. Underneath that quote card, I've stuck a small label sticker from the accessory sticker sheet as well, and I'm putting one of the little word stickers on top of that. Now, I have this little piece here that you can see I'm adding foam tape to. It also came from the cut apart sheet. It was a lot longer and I just trimmed it down and then I sat it in under the photo. The next embellishment that I moved onto was actually the chipboard stickers sheet. And the first piece that I pulled from the chipboard stickers was that arrow there. Now, I wanted the arrow to point at the word, well, I wasn't quite sure initially where it was going to sit, but I ended up wanting it to point at the word awesome because that's kind of the focus of this page. But I did add foam tape to it because despite the fact that chipboard itself already brings dimension to the page, I also wanted that arrow to be sitting up nice and high off the background. Okay, what else? Oh, I'm pulling off some more little stars from the chipboard sticker sheet now. These are really sweet little stars. They're little tiny ones and they will add a great pop of dimension to a background without overwhelming it. So I'm into the die cut ephemera here and I found that little piece, that little sort of shield shaped piece that said awesome since day one. Now, I was really drawn to that for two reasons. A, because it was, again, reinforcing the use of the word awesome, but also because it brought in a beautiful blue to the page. Now, that tied in well with the blue splatters that I'd already put on there. It also tied in with hubby's shirt, and I wanted to bring in a little bit more, so I chose that globe piece. But then I needed a way of making that globe relevant. Now, even though they are outside and they were in nature and all of that sort of thing, I really wanted to make that piece of ephemera relevant to the page. And the way that I did that was I went back to the chipboard sticker sheet and I actually found the little banner that said "Out of This World." Now, I tucked that in alongside it and immediately that die cut had relevance to the page and it had relevance to its place on the page. So I have also added a die cut down to the bottom left corner of the photo. So now that you can see my visual triangle is basically complete. I've got a cluster above my photo, I've got a cluster in the bottom left corner, and then I have my cluster over on the right hand side. And that forms my visual triangle and it forms it around the focal point of my page. Now I'm going in with some of the little puffy stickers, which I absolutely adore. They are my favorite embellishment from this collection. And as much as I hate to part with them, I love popping them on my page. So I've scattered quite a few around on this one. Now, the final thing you are going to see me do is I pull out that prize ribbon Distress Oxide again, and I'm just going to stamp the phrase "being nice is cool" multiple times on my page, and that was it. Now, I'm sorry if this voiceover's been a bit disjointed. As I said, I had to keep stopping because I'm coughing. If you do have any questions, please pop them in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please do so you don't miss any of my videos. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.